We live in interesting times.
For the headlines.
The U.S.-North Korea nuclear summit in Hanoi ends abruptly without a deal, with President Trump saying he had decided to walk in the face of Kim Jong-un's demands to drop sanctions.
Donald Trump's longtime lawyer, Michael Cohen, turns on his former boss in a dramatic congressional appearance, calling the U.S. president a con man and inveterate liar who engaged in possibly illegal conduct while in office.
And Pakistan said it is prepared to release a captured Indian pilot if doing so will ease soaring tensions with India that have fueled fears of conflict between the nuclear-armed rivals. I'm Alma Angeles, wherever you're watching from around the world. Thank you very much for joining us.
We welcome our viewers here in the Philippines and around the world. Good evening, everyone. I'm Sam Cepeda.
And now to the news. The U.S.-North Korea nuclear summit in Hanoi ended abruptly without a deal Thursday, with President Trump saying he had decided to walk in the face of Kim Jong-un's demands to drop sanctions. The much-anticipated second meeting between the two leaders was supposed to build on their historic first summit in Singapore. However, they failed to sign a joint statement as initially scheduled, and the talks ended in deadlock. There's no commitment between both leaders so far to hold a third summit. Let's listen in.
But at this time, we had some options, and at this time we decided not to do any of the options, and we'll see where that goes. But it was a very interesting 2 days, and I think actually it was a very productive 2 days, but sometimes you have to walk. Basically, they wanted the sanctions lifted in their entirety, and we couldn't do that. They were willing to denuke a large portion of the areas that we wanted, but we couldn't give up all of the sanctions for that. So we continue to work, and we'll see, but we had to walk away from that particular suggestion. We had to walk away from that. They wanted sanctions lifted, but they weren't willing to do an area that we wanted. They were willing to give us areas, but not the ones we wanted. One of the things, importantly, that Chairman Kim promised me last night is regardless, he's not going to do testing of rockets and nuclear, not going to do testing. So, you know, I trust him, and I take him at his word. I hope that's true.
Did you commit with Chairman Kim to a next summit during your term?
No.
Okay.
We'll see if it happens. It happens. I have not committed.
The outcome in Hanoi fell far short of the pre-meeting expectations and hopes after critics said their initial historic meeting in Singapore was more style over substance. In the original White House program, a joint agreement signing ceremony had been scheduled in Hanoi, as well as a working lunch for the two leaders. Now, Kim was willing to dismantle North Korea's Yongbyon facility, but wanted all the sanctions lifted in exchange, according to President Trump. He said he wasn't willing to do this, but Trump said Kim promised him he would not continue to test nuclear weapons or long-range missiles. The failure will be viewed as a setback for President Trump, who has talked up his historic rapprochement with Mr. Kim as a significant policy achievement.
South Korea's presidential office expressed regret after the summit between U.S. President Donald Trump and North Korea's Kim Jong-un ended without a deal, but said meaningful progress had been made. It is regrettable President Trump and North Korean leader Kim Jong-un did not reach a complete agreement on today's summit, Blue House spokesman Kim Kyum said in a statement. But it appears clear that more meaningful progress was made than at any other point in the past. Negotiations have focused heavily on the Yongbyon nuclear reactor, a core component of Pyongyang's program. Dr. Siegfried Hecker, a nuclear scientist who has visited the Yongbyon Nuclear Scientific Research Center several times, described the center as the heart of North Korea's nuclear program, and dismantling parts of the facility would be crucial to denuclearization.
Now, the future of North Korea's decades-old Yongbyon nuclear complex was on the negotiating table in Hanoi at leader Kim Jong-un's second summit with President Trump. It has long been at the heart of Pyongyang's atomic development program, but remains shrouded in secrecy. About 100 kilometers or 60 miles north of Pyongyang, Yongbyon is made up of dozens of buildings related to North Korea's nuclear weapons program. Opened in 1986, it is home to the country's first nuclear reactor with a 5-megawatt capacity and is the only known source of plutonium for the North's weapons program. It also produces other key fuels for nuclear bombs, highly enriched uranium and tritium. And according to a 2019 report by the Stanford Center for International Security and Cooperation, has been expanding even amid the recent diplomatic thaw. The report by leading nuclear researcher Siegfried Hecker, who has visited Yongbyon 4 times, said the complex produced enough fissile material for 5 to 7 atomic bombs in 2018. And Yongbyon is not believed to be the North's only uranium enrichment facility, and closing it down would not in and of itself signal an end to North Korea's atomic program. U.S. intelligence believes Pyongyang has at least 2 more uranium plants, one near Kangson, just outside Pyongyang, and another at an undisclosed location. Now, what does the North want in exchange? When South Korean President Moon Jae-in went to Pyongyang for a summit with Kim in September, the North offered Yongbyon's permanent destruction, but only if the U.S. took corresponding actions. The qualification goes to the heart of one of the disagreements between Washington and Pyongyang. The North wants the U.S. to make concessions step by step along the way, particularly sanctions relief, while Washington has insisted the restrictions must remain in place until denuclearization is completed. Pyongyang has agreed to mothball Yongbyon in the past. The main reactor was shut down in 1994 under an agreement with Washington, only to be restarted in 2003 after the deal was derailed. Another agreement to shut down the reactor was signed in 2007, and the North blew up a cooling tower as a token of its commitment. But that deal also fell apart when relations soured and Pyongyang reactivated the reactor by cooling it with river water. Experts say previous broken promises show that simple deactivation will not be enough.
Kim Jong-un Thursday raised the prospect of a permanent U.S. diplomatic presence in Pyongyang, as President Donald Trump said he was in no rush for a speedy deal over North Korea's nuclear program.
Well, I think that is something which is welcomeable.
I think no matter what happens, we're going to ultimately have a deal that's really good for...
During sit-down talks earlier Thursday, the North Korean leader said he would welcome the opening of a U.S. liaison office in his capital. At his word welcoming. For his part, Trump said the idea was a great thing. The two leaders are holding their second summit in 8 months. Kim said he would not be sitting down with Trump if he were not ready to denuclearize. The Pyongyang strongman is looking for relief from sanctions imposed on the North because of its weapons program.
It doesn't mean we're doing it in 1 day or 2 days, but it's all leading toward a very...
Now, earlier on Wednesday, Trump described Kim as a great leader and said his country had tremendous economic potential, unbelievable, unlimited, as he vowed to help North Korea achieve those goals. Now, they had a candid and honest dialogue during their one-on-one meeting, North Korea state news agency KCNA said on Thursday. And over dinner, it added, sincere and deep opinions were exchanged with a view to making comprehensive and epoch-making results. Take a look.
And as I've said many times, and I say it to the press, I say it to anybody that wants to listen, I think that your country has tremendous economic potential, unbelievable, unlimited. And I think that you will have a tremendous future with your country, a great leader. And I look forward to watching it happen and helping it to happen. And we will help it to happen.
Now, the state-run Rodong Sinmum newspapers plastered photographs of their handshake over its front page. One of them appearing to show Trump bowing slightly as he took Kim's hand, featuring prominently.
Mr. President, what do you hope to achieve in your talks with the chairman?
I think
Michael Cohen, President Donald Trump's former fixer and lawyer, told Congress that the president is a liar who repeatedly made false statements about his wealth and his efforts to build a luxury tower in Moscow while running for office. He said Trump's modus operandi is to deal with problems through payoffs, threats, or lawsuits, and he demands absolutely loyalty from underlings who constantly lie for him.
I am ashamed because I know what Mr. Trump is. He is a racist, he is a con man, and he is a cheat. You need to know that Mr. Trump's personal lawyers reviewed and edited my statement to Congress about the timing of the Moscow Tower negotiations before I gave it. So to be clear, Mr. Trump knew of and directed the Trump-Moscow negotiations throughout the campaign and lied about it. He lied about it because he never expected to win. Never in a million years did I imagine, when I accepted a job in 2007 to work for Donald Trump, that he would one day run for the presidency, to launch a campaign on a platform of hate and intolerance, and actively win. I regret the day I said yes to Mr. Trump. I regret all the help and support I gave him along the way. I am providing the committee today with several documents, and these include a copy of a check Mr. Trump wrote from his personal bank account after he became president to reimburse me for the hush money payments I made to cover up his affair with an adult film star and to prevent damage to his campaign. Donald Trump is a man who ran for office to make his brand great, not to make our country great. He had no desire or intention to lead this nation, only to market himself and to build his wealth and power. You need to know that Mr. Trump's personal...
Trump was brashly proud of his deceits, Cohen said. In 2008, even while he was slashing the pay of Trump Organization employees, the future president told Cohen he had received a $10 million tax refund and called the government stupid for giving back money to someone like him. Cohen said that Trump, who regularly praises and promotes the U.S. military, was likewise proud to have avoided being sent to fight in Vietnam War by claiming he had bone spurs on his feet.
He told me not to answer the specific questions by reporters, but rather offer simply the fact that he received a medical deferment. He finished the conversation with the following comment: "You think I'm stupid? I'm not going to Vietnam." And I find it ironic, Mr. President, that you are in Vietnam right now. I have lied, but I am not a liar. And I have done bad things, but I am not a bad man. I have fixed things, but I am no longer your fixer, Mr. Trump. And I am going to prison and have shattered the safety and security that I tried so hard to provide for my family, but rather offer simple...
Cohen was convicted for lying to Congress about negotiations in 2016 during the presidential election for a Trump Tower deal in Moscow.
Not going to Vietnam. I find it ironic.
Meanwhile, President Trump sought again to discredit Michael Cohen after his former longtime lawyer's bombshell congressional testimony in which he called Trump a racist and a conman. Take a look.
He lied a lot, but it was very interesting because he didn't lie about one thing. He said no collusion with the Russian hoax. And I said, I wonder why he didn't just lie about that too, like he did about everything else.
So to be clear,
Trump insisted Cohen's testimony Wednesday had provided no evidence the Trump campaign had colluded with Russia in the 2016 U.S. election, and that this is what mattered most in the keenly awaited session before a House committee. The president complained that the testimony took place during the summit with Kim. Cohen, who also worked as Trump's fixer, told lawmakers he had no direct knowledge of collusion, but that he had
to
suspicions.
launch a campaign on a platform of hate and intolerance and actively win.
Eagle News International will be right back.
Ako po si Boy Abunda. Naniniwala po akong mahalaga ang kultura at mga sining sa buhay ng isang bansa. Makiisa sa pagdiriwang ng National Arts Month tuwing Pebrero. Halina't makisining, ani ng sining, alam ng sining.
Hindi lamang bagyo at pagbaha ang dapat na paghandaan ng taong bayan, kundi maging ang lindol. Ayon sa PBOX, hindi alam kung kailan tatama ang isang malakas na lindol o the big one sa oras na gumalaw ang West Valley Fault na nasa Metro Manila. Kaya bago pa man ang lindol, alamin kung ang inyong mga lugar ay nasa dinaraanan o malapit sa active fault. Tiyakin na matibay ang pagkakagawa ng bahay o gusali. Itali ang mga mabibigat na kagamitan o kasangkapan sa dingding upang maiwasan ang pagkahulog. Ang mga babasagin, mga nakalalasong kemikal at mga bagay na madaling magliyab ay dapat na nakatago sa pinakailalim na bahagi ng mga istante at hindi madaling magalaw o matapon. Maging pamilyar sa mga tinatawag na exit routes, alamin kung nasaan ang fire extinguisher, first aid kit, alarmang pangligtas at emergency exits at communication facilities. Maghanda ng emergency supply kit na naglalaman ng debateryang transistor, flashlight, first aid kit, tubig na mainom, candy, mga dilata at iba pang ready-to-eat na pagkain, pito at gas mask. At higit sa lahat, magsagawa at lumahok ng regular na earthquake drill. Tandaan, susi sa mabisang pagpaplano sa kalamidad ay ang kahandaan.
Iba't ibang sakuna at kalamidad ang nararanasan ng bansa. Kapag may banta ng panganib, kailangang maging alerto at kung kailangang lumikas ay magtungo sa ligtas na lugar. Bilang paghahanda sa mga ganitong pagkakataon, mahalaga na may gobag na dadalhin ang pamilya. Narito ang dapat na nilalaman ng gobag na isang pamilyang handa. Mahalagang dokumento sa selyadong lalagyan, flashlight, kandila, posporo at silbato. Radyo na may bago at ekstrang baterya. First aid kit kasama ang panlunas sa lagnat, LBM, sugat at iba pa. Ang mga gamot na regular na iniinom ng pamilya. Magagamit para sa mga sanggol, bata, matatanda at may kapansanan, pera at mga barya. Pagkain na madaling ihanda, di na kailangang lutuin at sapat para sa 3 araw. Inuming tubig sa saradong lalagyan at sapat para sa 3 araw. Telepono, power bank at charger. Lubid, lumang dyaryo, matitibay na lalagyan, damit, kapote, bota at mga sanitary supplies, sleeping bag o banig at mga kumot. Suriin ang mga laman ng gobag kada 3 buwan at palitan ang mga laman nito na malapit ng masira. Ilagay ang gobag sa lugar na madali itong makita at makuha sa oras ng sakuna.
Asian markets mostly fell, led by Seoul, as a summit between Donald Trump and Kim Jong-un ended abruptly without an agreement. Equities had been fluctuating through the day on tempered optimism over China-U.S. trade talks, weak factory data from Beijing, and fresh geopolitical tensions in Kashmir. But they took a decisive turn south after an expected lunch and signing ceremony between the U.S. and North Korean leader was called off at the last minute. Both men left the summit venue in Hanoi without a public signing ceremony, and Trump later told reporters he was not willing to give in to Kim's demands to lift sanctions on the country.
Basically, they wanted the sanctions lifted in their entirety, and we couldn't do that. They were willing to denuke a large portion of the areas that we wanted, but we couldn't give up all of the sanctions for that. So we continue to work, and we'll see, but we had to walk away from that particular suggestion. We had to walk away from that.
However, he said the talks ended on friendly terms, and he was hopeful of progress further down the line. Seoul dived 1.8% and Tokyo ended 0.8% lower, while Shanghai and Hong Kong both shed 0.4%, Singapore shed 0.8%. Manila tumbled more than 2%, and Jakarta was more than 1% down, while Bangkok slipped 0.4%, though there were gains in Sydney and Wellington.
U.S. Trade Representative Robert Lighthizer says there remains much to do before reaching a new trade agreement with China, despite real progress so far. Now, he was testifying before the House Ways and Means Committee on Capitol Hill. Let's listen in.
We have engaged in a very intense, extremely serious, and very specific negotiation with China on crucial structural issues for several months now. We are making real progress. If we can complete this effort, and again I say if, and can reach a satisfactory solution to the all-important outstanding issue of enforceability, as well as some other concerns, we might be able to have an agreement that helps us turn the corner in our economic relationship with China. Much still needs to be done, both before an agreement is reached and, more importantly, after it is reached, if one is reached.
Lighthizer's remarks underscore the remaining hurdles facing negotiators despite the apparent eagerness on both sides to bring their 8-month trade war to an end. Citing substantial progress, President Trump on Sunday said he would postpone a sharp increase in U.S. duties on $200 billion in Chinese imports while the two sides work to reach an agreement. Final details would be hashed out before a signing summit with Chinese President Xi Jinping at an unspecified future date.
We're going to have a dinner, but I told you how well we did with our trade talks in China, and it looks like they'll be coming back quickly again, and we're going to have another summit. We're going to have a signing summit, which is even better. So hopefully we can get that completed, but we're getting very, very close.
Along with Japanese and European officials, the U.S. accuses China of entrenched unfair trade practices, including massive state intervention in markets, subsidies, and the theft of foreign technology. Chinese officials have offered to increase purchases of American farm goods and energy exports, but it remains unclear whether Beijing will give in to U.S. demands for fundamental changes in industrial policy, which analysts say would weaken the Communist Party's power. After exchanging punitive tariffs on more than $360 billion in total two-way trade, Trump and Xi declared a truce in December and agreed to hold off on further tariffs or retaliation for 90 days. The United States had been poised to more than double the tariffs on the most recent and largest round of Chinese exports on Saturday. But according to Lighthizer office, those increases will remain suspended until further notice. Analysts say the two sides are likely to trumpet mutual agreements to resolve the easier parts of the trade dispute, increasing purchases of American goods, more open investment in China, and tougher protections for intellectual property and proprietary technology.
Lawyers for former Nissan chief Carlos Ghosn on Thursday filed a fresh bail request for the auto titan who has been detained for more than 3 months, the Tokyo District Court said. It is the first bail request filed by the 64-year-old since he shook up his legal team as he crafts his defense to 3 charges of financial misconduct. The former high-flying executive has been in detention since his shock November 19 arrest and has tried repeatedly without success to secure bail. Ghosn's previous legal team even deployed a rarely used article of the Japanese Constitution to force the court to explain why the Franco-Lebanese Brazilian remained in detention. A judge said Ghosn's continued detention was justified because he posed a flight risk and there was a possibility he would conceal evidence. Ghosn and his lawyers have argued that neither of those is the case, and he even offered to wear a tracking bracelet and hire guards to monitor his whereabouts, pledging to stay in Japan. Ghosn earlier this month shook up his legal team, replacing his previous lead lawyer, a former prosecutor with hotshot lawyer Junichiro Hironaka, who has a history of taking on high-profile cases. Ghosn's November arrest sent shockwaves through the auto industry in Japan and beyond. A towering figure once revered in Japan for turning around Nissan's fortune, Ghosn also forged a successful alliance between Nissan, Mitsubishi Motors, and France's Renault. But his attempts to deepen the alliance caused resentment in some quarters, and Ghosn has claimed the allegations against him are part of a plot by opponents of greater integration between the 3 firms.
German high-end car giants BMW and Mercedes-Benz maker Daimler said they would work together to develop automated driving and driver assistance systems, the latest cooperation for the historically fierce rivals. The 2 manufacturers have sealed a long-term strategic cooperation to make next-level technologies widely available by around 2025. They said this in a joint statement. Munich-based BMW and Stuttgart's Daimler plan first to focus on so-called Level 3 and 4 systems on an internationally recognized scale for automated driving. They'll stop short of Level 5, which would see the onboard computer take over completely from the human driver under all circumstances. Rather, the hope for technology will at first offer driving and parking assistance and limited autonomy on motorways. Partnerships have been proliferating across the auto industry as increasingly massive investments are needed to develop new technologies. Honda recently invested in General Motors' self-driving car unit. BMW is working with Intel and Fiat, and Daimler has linked up with components supplier Bosch. And that wraps up our business news. We'll be back with more right after the short break. Stay tuned.
Ang kagutuman at malnutrisyon ay isa sa mga lumalalang problema na kinakaharap ng ating bansa at maging ng buong daigdig.
Sa pag-aaral ng Social Weather Stations o SWS, nasa mahigit 2 milyong pamilyang Pilipino ang nagsabing nakaranas sila ng gutom sa unang quarter ng 2018.
Sa isang pag-aaral naman ukol sa estado ng kalusugan ng mga bata sa bawat bansa, ang Pilipinas ay naging pang-104 mula sa pang-76 na pwesto dahil sa mas dumaraming kaso ng malnutrisyon at pagkabansot sa mga bata.
Para maiwasan ang labis na kahirapan at kagutuman, isa sa nakikitang solusyon ang gulayan sa bakuran. Ang gulayan sa bakuran ay uri ng backyard gardening o munting taniman ng gulay para mapagkunan ng pagkain.
Tiyakin lang nasa itatanim na mga gulay dapat maging pili. Ang mga buto o binhi may sapat na lupang pagtatamnan o plating bukod sa may distansya. Ang bawat isang halaman kailangan din ng sapat na pagdidilig, pagtatanggal sa damo at paglalagay ng pataba.
Bukod sa makakatipid, isang stress reliever ang pag-aalaga ng mga tanim, lalo na't nakikita mo itong lumalago at iyong inaani. Higit sa lahat, makakakain ka ng sariwang gulay mula sa iyong pinagpaguran. Dahil kapag may tanim sa sariling bakuran at bakanting lote, makatitiyak ka na malinis at ligtas sa kemikal ang kinukonsumong gulay.
At kami po sa mata ng Agila, hinikayat po namin ang lahat na magkaroon ng gulayan sa bakuran.
Hey guys, I'm here today in my home state, Jersey City, New Jersey. Make sure you tune in to Digital Nest every Tuesday and Thursday at 7:30 p.m. I'm Ace and I'm 1 with 25.
Pakistan and India said they had shot down each other's warplanes in a dramatically escalating confrontation that has fueled concerns of an all-out conflict between the nuclear-armed rivals. Calling for talks with India to defuse the situation, Pakistan Prime Minister Imran Khan warned of the potentially catastrophic consequences should better sense not prevail.
हमारा पहले से प्लान था कि कोई कोलैटरल डैमेज ना हो, कोई कैजुअल्टीज ना हो। सिर्फ हम ये बताएं हिंदुस्तान को कि हमारे में कैपेबिलिटी है कि अगर आप हमारी मुल्क में आ सकते हैं तो हम भी आपके मुल्क में जाके कार्रवाई कर सकते हैं। सिर्फ इसका ये मकसद था। 2 हिंदुस्तान के मिग्स ने पाकिस्तान की रिटेलिएशन में बॉर्डर क्रॉस किया, उनको शूट डाउन किया गया। और मैं ये भी आज कहना चाहता हूँ कि पायलट्स हमारे साथ हैं। मेरा सवाल ये है हिंदुस्तान हुकूमत से कि क्या जो हथियार आपके पास हैं और हमारे पास हैं, क्या हम मिसकैलकुलेशन अफोर्ड कर सकते हैं? क्या हमें इस वक्त सोचना नहीं चाहिए कि ये अगर यहां से एस्केलेट होती है तो ये किधर जाएगी? ना मेरे कंट्रोल में होगी, ना नरेंद्र मोदी के कंट्रोल में होगी। इसलिए मैं फिर से आपको दावत देता हूं कि जब हम तैयार बैठे हैं, हमने आपको कहा कि जो आपकी पुलवामा की जो ट्रेजेडी हुई, उसके जो आपको जो दुख पहुंचा है, किसी किस्म का डायलॉग करना चाहते हैं दहशतगर्दी के ऊपर, हम तैयार हैं।
Pakistan initially said it downed 2 Indian jets in its airspace and captured 2 pilots, but later its military spokesman tweeted that there was only 1 pilot in Pakistani custody. India's foreign ministry demanded the immediate and safe return of the pilot, calling on Pakistan to ensure no harm comes to him. The pilot gives Islamabad a key bargaining chip that may affect just how muscular Delhi's next move could be, tweeted U.S. analyst Michael Kugelman. New Delhi also confirmed the loss of one of its planes and said it had shot down a Pakistani fighter jet. In a sign of the deepening crisis, Pakistan also closed its airspace until further notice. At least 6 airports were shuttered in India, and a vast area north of New Delhi was closed to civilian flights.
Meanwhile, Prime Minister Narendra Modi asks Indians to stand as a wall as anger boils over the capture of a pilot by Pakistan as the crisis escalates between the nuclear-armed rivals. Take a look.
India will live as one. India will work as one. India will grow as one. India will fight as one. India will win as one.
Prime Minister Narendra Modi ignored opposition attacks to address millions of workers of his BJP amid Indian-Pakistani tension and said India will fight as one and will win as one. Ties have nosedived and many countries have urged de-escalation of hostilities in the aftermath of the Pulwama terror attack, in which over 40 soldiers were killed by a suicide bomber of the Pakistani-based Jaish-e-Mohammed. On Tuesday, India sent fighter planes to Pakistan for the first time since 1971 and bombed a massive Jaish terror training facility in Balakot. Yesterday, Pakistan took an Indian pilot captive after an aerial combat in which the Air Force shot down a Pakistani warplane.
India has demanded the release of a fighter pilot shot down by Pakistan warplanes. Video showing the pilot blindfolded and with blood on his face was shared by Pakistan's information ministry. Footage of him being beaten and interrogated has since gone viral in India and Pakistan. The incident has sparked fears that the showdown between the two countries, who have fought 2 wars over Kashmir, could spiral out of control.
And now coming over to some specifics. Which aircraft you were flying?
I'm sorry, Major. I'm not supposed to tell you this, but I'm sure.
And now coming over to some specifics. Which aircraft you were flying?
I'm sorry, Major. I'm not supposed to tell you this, but I'm sure you found the wreckage.
And what was your mission?
I'm sorry, I'm not supposed to tell you this.
Meanwhile, Prime Minister Imran Khan told the joint session of Parliament that Pakistan will release a captured Indian pilot on Friday in an overture towards New Delhi after soaring tensions fueled fears of conflict between the nuclear-armed rivals. He said, I quote, "As a peace gesture, we are releasing the Indian pilot tomorrow, a day after Wing Commander Abhinandan Varthaman was shot down in a rare aerial engagement between the South Asian neighbors over the disputed region of Kashmir." Meanwhile, thousands of travelers were stranded in Bangkok when Thai Airways canceled all flights over Pakistan after Islamabad closed its airspace in response to soaring tensions with India. Now, nearly 30 flights, the majority to and from European routes, were initially affected, according to the airline, with 3 aircraft forced to return to Bangkok's Suvarnabhumi Airport and others cancelled or set to be rerouted. The travel disruption spun out across the region, with Singapore Airlines, usually direct flights to Europe, forced to refuel on Wednesday, while a flight to Frankfurt was cancelled. The disruption follows a snowballing crisis between nuclear-armed neighbors Pakistan and India, which has raised fears of an all-out war.
They say now I have a fixed booking for the 6th March. This is a problem for me, you know, because I have to go back to my work, and also I don't know what to do in Bangkok for 6 days.
This is things that happen sometimes. We were supposed to go tonight, yesterday night, but we don't know anything yet. But I think Thai Airways do what they can do. Yeah, I was here on a holiday now for 3.5 weeks, so I was supposed to work on Friday, but I won't do that. So it's a little bit problem, but what can you do? It's nothing you can do.
At least 7 people have died and dozens more are still trapped beneath the rubble of an illegal gold mine that collapsed in Indonesia, officials said Thursday, as rescuers frantically searched for survivors. Some 19 miners had been plucked to safety since Tuesday night's accident, and rescuers are communicating with some still buried, raising hopes for more survivors. But with the clock ticking, the rescue effort at the remote site on Indonesia's Sulawesi Island was hampered by steep terrain and unstable soil conditions after the collapse triggered a landslide. A survivor whose leg was amputated at the site Thursday later died of massive blood loss, bringing the death toll to 7. The accident happened when support beams at the unlicensed site collapsed, according to the disaster agency. More than 3 dozen people may still be trapped at the mine in the Bolaang Mongondo region of North Sulawesi, where some 5 miners were killed in December after an illegal gold mine accident. But it remained unclear how many people were still in the mine. We'll be back with more news right after this break.
Hindi lamang bagyo at pagbaha ang dapat na paghandaan ng taong bayan, kundi maging ang lindol. Ayon sa PBOX, hindi alam kung kailan tatama ang isang malakas na lindol o the big one sa oras na gumalaw ang West Valley Fault na nasa Metro Manila. Kaya bago pa man ang lindol, alamin kung ang inyong mga lugar ay nasa dinaraanan o malapit sa active fault. Tiyakin na matibay ang pagkakagawa ng bahay o gusali. Itali ang mga mabibigat na kagamitan o kasangkapan sa dingding upang maiwasan ang pagkahulog. Ang mga babasagin, mga nakalalasong kemikal at mga bagay na madaling magliyab ay dapat na nakatago sa pinakailalim na bahagi ng mga istante at hindi madaling magalaw o matapon. Maging pamilyar sa mga tinatawag na exit routes, alamin kung nasaan ang fire extinguisher, first aid kit, alarmang pangligtas at emergency exits at communication facilities. Maghanda ng emergency supply kit na naglalaman ng debateryang transistor, flashlight, first aid kit, tubig na mainom, candy, mga dilata at iba pang ready-to-eat na pagkain, pito at gas mask. At higit sa lahat, magsagawa at lumahok ng regular na earthquake drill. Tandaan, susi sa mabisang pagpaplano sa kalamidad ay ang kahandaan.
Hey guys, I'm here in New Jersey, the diner capital of the world. Tune in to Digital Nest on Tuesdays and Thursdays at 7:30 p.m. I'm Nikki, and I'm 1 with 25.
In tennis, Australia's Nick Kyrgios survived 3 match points to beat top-seeded Rafael Nadal 3-6, 7-6, 7-6 on Wednesday and reached the quarterfinals of the Mexico Open. Kyrgios out of sorts as he dropped the first set, complained to trainers that he was feeling ill. But he steeled himself to continue and all distractions were forgotten as he rallied from 6-3 down in the third set tiebreaker to subdue the 17 Grand Slam champion from Spain. Nadal, winner in Acapulco in 2005 and 2013, was playing his first event since falling in the Australian Open final to Novak Djokovic. He had chances to tie-break Kyrgios in both the second and third set, but was unable to convert as both sets went on serve to the tiebreakers. Kyrgios leveled his head-to-head record with Nadal at 3-3 and will play 3-time Grand Slam champion Stan Wawrinka for a place in the semifinals. And in the Western Hockey League, the Portland Winterhawks won their 5th straight road win with a 5-3 victory over the Vancouver Giants. Here's EBC Sports correspondent Anthony Sevilla for the report.
The Portland Winterhawks get another road win with a 5-3 victory over Western Conference rival Vancouver Giants. The biggest takeaway from today's match was San Jose Sharks NHL prospect Joachim Blichfeld. In only 15 minutes of ice time, he was able to score a hat-trick and lead the Portland Winterhawks to the win. The forward leads the entire Western Hockey League in goals and points and became the first Portland player to score 50 or more goals in a season in 4 seasons.
Well, it feels great, you know. Obviously couldn't have done it without my teammates and my linemen, so I'm very grateful to be playing with those guys. I guess I was lucky. But, you know, I think our line were going really good tonight. We got off a great game last night, and I think we just kept going today. And our line had good chemistry all night long, so yeah, you know, my linemen found me all night long, and I was happy to get 3 goals.
He's had an amazing season, and I know San Jose was here tonight watching him, and they were sending me a note before the game just saying, I hope you still got some gas left in the tank after last night. I think he had 15 shots last night in the game against Seattle. But Blish has had a great year, and it shows that an NHL team sends their player back to our league to still get a little bit more development. And I think he's taken it to heart, and he wanted to have a great year. He's worked on his strength, worked on his leg power and his skating, and then now he's just proven that he's ready for pro hockey next year.
Portland was without a few key players in the lineup, including forward Cody Glass. The Vegas Golden Knights' first ever draft pick has been out several weeks and was expected to return to the lineup against the Giants. However, he remained sidelined due to a lingering lower body injury. Blichfeld was able to carry the load and showed why they are one of the top teams in the WHL.
Blichfeld is still, he just got like 100 points tonight, or 101. So obviously he's a key guy in their lineup, but they're still a great team. They sat their starting goaltender and their their best defenseman, De Jong. So we were just going to this game, you know, we're like, we need to beat them. Even without these guys, they're still a really good team. So no, this time we didn't underestimate them, but last time I think we did. You know, it was our 4th straight loss to Portland this year, so we're obviously very upset about that. We got swept by them, and you know, going into playoffs, we're gonna have to try and fix that.
We went to the drawing board. We worked pretty hard to get our team prepared for this game, and I think we came in with a right game plan, and it's disappointing that, you know, and looking at a game like this is a playoff team. This is one of the elite teams in our conference, and a team that we wanted to beat. Unfortunately, we just didn't have enough guys that wanted to beat them bad enough.
Despite the loss, Vancouver remains on the upper edge against Portland in the race for the top seed in the Western Conference by 3 points. Both teams sit at 2nd and 3rd in the West, trailing the Everett Silvertips by just a few points, and are both fighting for home ice advantage in the WHL playoffs. The Portland Winterhawks win the season series and also snap the Vancouver Giants' 7-game win streak with a victory. They also end the Giants' home winning streak, who haven't lost at home since December 14th against the top-seeded Everett Silvertips. From the Langley Event Center, I'm Anthony Sevilla, and I'm 1 with 25.
Thank you, Anthony. Meanwhile, in the NBA, Miami icon Dwayne Wade banked in a buzzer-beating 3-pointer to lead the Heat to a 126-125 victory over the reigning NBA champion Golden State Warriors on Wednesday. Wade, who announced before the season that he would retire after this campaign, added another sublime moment to his career highlight reel as the Heat snapped a 6-game home losing streak by salvaging a victory that appeared to have gotten away. Miami led by as many as 24 points and were ahead by 8 going into the 4th quarter. Golden State were still up by 4 when Wade drained a 3-pointer with 15 seconds left, and after Durant made one of 2 free throws to put the Warriors' lead at 2. Wade delivered from the top of the arc, hanging on when his first attempt was blocked and draining a second effort for the victory. And meanwhile, these are the results of the other games today in the NBA. And these are the stories for EN Sports. I'm Ben Bernaldez, and I am 1 with 25.
Thanks, Ben and Anthony.
Thanks, Ben. Don't forget to like us on Facebook, follow us on Twitter and Tumblr. Also check out our boards and Pinterest and pictures on Instagram. I'm Sam Cepeda. Thanks for joining us.
And that's it for tonight's broadcast. I'm Alma Angeles and
we are 1 with 25.